Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. And my name is Kerry Stevenson. Today I'm speaking with Bryan Carr. He is the Managing Director and CEO of Roolife. ASX code is RLG. Now, Bryan and I spoke a year ago, so go into the search engine, and if you don't know who Roolife are, go and watch that interview, because today we're going to be talking about, quite frankly, massive growth that they've had. Because when I spoke to Bryan a year ago, they had, I think it was revenues for half year were $2 million loss. Had to just check my numbers there for a second, Bryan. But massive growth. So I'm pretty excited. Really appreciate you coming back and having a chat. Welcome back to Small Caps.
Oh, thanks, Kerry. Good to speak with you again.
Well, great to speak to you. Now, just to briefly, you're a digital marketing and e-commerce company, and the main area that you service is China, and that is having massive growth. What I'd like to just go through is what the results have been like, where you're sitting at the moment, because I think from my point of view, looking at the numbers, they've been quite spectacular. I want to know what's going on and where these numbers are coming from.
Yeah, I mean, we're delighted with the result. As I said, look, in 12 months, we've just closed out revenue for the half year 4 times what it was the comparable period. We've seen really significant growth. We've got 700% increase of platform sales, so people buying our products. And it's all driven around this big, strong demand we're seeing from Chinese consumers for international brands. And people and companies and brands can't travel to China right now. So us having that established footprint and platforms and sales channels in China is incredibly compelling.
Do you think that people worry about the fact that it is China? Because the world's a bit of a weird place at the moment. We've got the Ukraine, Russia, bit of nervousness around China, but the Chinese still have to eat. They still love products and they love international brands. What are you seeing? Is there still that strong appetite for that international brands? And are there challenges getting products into China at the moment?
Yeah, we're seeing a strong appetite both ways. I mean, we're very focused in the food, beverage and health and wellbeing space. So products which are hugely in demand with consumers. People are much more health aware now. One thing that people can't do without is food. And they're more selective now in terms of what they're eating. Conversely, we're servicing the appetite from brands globally. People want to sell into such a high growth and high volume market like China. And that's exactly where we're positioned. And I think the numbers we're delivering confirm that premise, that there is high demand, there is high growth, and people are looking for ways that they can access that market. And that's exactly what RLG does.
Are you finding any challenges? Because around the world at the moment, we've got supply chain logistics issues. Is that impacting at all? I mean, it clearly isn't that much, because you've gone from 2 million to 8 million year on year, which is pretty darn good. And so there is growth with you guys, but are there any challenges with supply chain logistics?
I mean, it's no different to every business and every person in the world. There are, issues around delays as opposed to complete stoppages. What it does from a reporting perspective, sometimes we've got really good demand for a product, which we might delay getting in for a week or two. And from our numbers, that falls into the next quarter. So we see it not as causing a ceasing of sales, but just moving sales out in terms of reporting periods.
You've recently done a really good deal with one of the largest distributors of kombucha, which is interesting. I think it's called Remedy Brands. Has that added a lot to your bottom line? Is that something where you see there's a big growth market?
We're certainly seeing big growth for its early days, but it's compelling for us to be able to see such a well-known brand that we are the exclusive distributor in the China market for, and we're making great penetration both online and direct to sales channels in China. So whereby people are walking into cafes, supermarkets, restaurants in Shanghai, Guangzhou, and they're buying a product which we sell. So that's working really well. I think it's one of the real case examples of what can be done with a really good product, a good brand, and a good team and a good marketing operation, which is what we bring to the table.
You mentioned earlier that it's sort of foods and well-being. Are there any other vertical markets that you're looking at that are going to be driving high demand into China?
Yeah, well, we're seeing it now. We've got a direct consumer fresh produce store. So we're operating on a platform that people may or may not have heard of called Pinduoduo. It's bigger than Alibaba.
What's it called? What's it called?
Pinduoduo.
So you say that.
It's a group buying platform where people aggregate together and they buy greater quantities of product. In our fresh food category we operate in, we are now one of the top 10 stores on the biggest online shopping platform in China. So I think that that's an example of what we've been able to achieve and what we think we can continue to scale out as a business.
Well, talking about scaling out, how do you see that scaling out? Because you've got a market cap of 9 mil, not big at the moment. I want to know, if this is an investor audience out there, they're going to be looking at this thinking, all right, that's a very small market cap. What's going on here? Do you think, is there going to be a massive growth from here? I can't pronounce the platform, but the one that's bigger than Alibaba.
Pinduoduo.
Do you see that that's going to really add to your bottom line? How long have you been on that platform? How long have you been number 10? And where's the growth?
Yeah, so we've been operating for about 5 months on that platform. So it shows you how quickly we can scale out. And I think that the numbers that we're delivering on demonstrate that we are achieving consistent growth. This is not a flash in the pan. If you look at it from a logical perspective, if you're launching any new product into a new market, it does take you time to sort of build momentum. So build a brand awareness, build out a client base. And we've got a number of products which are now reaching that level of maturity. I mean, taking our revenue 12 months ago for $2 million to $8 million is quite significant. We've even, we've gone out to the market and we've advising that we're expecting a 25% uplift this quarter. So we are, once again, our track record shows that we broadcast that we're going to achieve growth and we deliver on that growth.
So in delivering on that growth, and we've spoken China, is that Roolife's sole distribution point, or are you looking at other jurisdictions, other areas?
Yeah, no, presently it is. Because we're seeing such high growth, we're concentrating there. But because of what we're developing in terms of our relationships with brands, our understanding of the brand, the marketing, the positioning, the logistics and movement of these products globally, there are a range of other opportunities and jurisdictions that, that we're exploring. So we can apply our online marketing techniques, our online store operations, and our understanding of a brand to other jurisdictions. And it's something we continue to explore, and we expect to see some deliverables in those in the near term on that. But at the same time, each province in China is like a new country. So
yeah, that is true. Yeah, they're massive.
There's such growth there already.
Bryan, just explain, if you could, because you've got the brand, you've got the distributor. How do you all work in together? Where does Roolife sit in the chain, if you like?
In essence, we become the brand in China. So, for example, we are the exclusive distributor, we're the importer, we're the marketer, the branding agency, the online store operator. We manage everything from end to end to get that product delivered to the customer. So from a customer's perspective in China, we are the brand.
So let's take kombucha, for example, that particular brand. So you are the brand, but Roolife, the ASX listed entity, isn't the brand. It's the actual product itself.
It's the pipe. It's the pipeline to get that product to the consumer. So from an international brands perspective, they don't need to worry about any aspect aside from making the product available. So everything else from that end-to-end solution in terms of how do you connect with the customer, how do you get paid for the customer, how do you get the product to the customer, that full end-to-end solution is exactly what RLG does.
And that's pretty specialised, isn't it? Because what makes you guys, why have you guys been so successful in building this business? And the numbers are impressive. As you said earlier, 2 million this time a year ago when we were chatting, 8 million today. That's impressive numbers. And you can see it going quickly, getting bigger, because once you've got that foundation, it can very quickly escalate, kind of like a snowball. Why has Roolife been able to, I guess, crack the code?
Yeah, well, I think key strength for us, and it's paid. Whilst it's been an issue for everyone, people haven't been able to travel. People still can't travel to China. we've got an established footprint team on the ground in China. We've got an established process whereby we can bring product directly in, market it online and deliver it to consumers. We're an Australian listed company, so we've got great trust and credibility in dealing with brands globally. And we've also got a history and case studies of delivering for brands. So we've got a track record. And as I said, look, people see the opportunity in China. They're not quite sure how to grasp it. Yeah. That's where our expertise lies.
So you've got a couple of contracts that you've done recently. One of them was Remedy Brands, which is kombucha. Let's talk about the other one that you've just done a deal with.
Yeah, I think this is important, and it's indicative of the regard that RLG is held in for what we've achieved. We settled in December last year. We took investment directly from a sales channel into China. So it's the perfect alignment whereby we've got a Chinese sales channel that recognises the capabilities and the strength of us as a group. They invested directly into RLG at a significant premium, so to market. So once again, that's clear validation of the value of what we're delivering. And importantly, it aligns our interests. So working together with that channel, the more successful they are, the more successful we are as a group, and the more successful their investment is. So it's like the perfect alignment for us in terms of opening up another channel.
So is that a local channel into China that's saying we like Roolife and we're going to and they've invested some money into Roolife?
Correct.
So they've got a vested interest in you doing extremely well.
Correct.
They've invested.
Yeah, it's exactly it. So they're on the ground, they're seeing which products are in demand. They're able to sell our products directly to their client base. So it's the perfect alignment, and they're suitably rewarded for achievement of the sales outcomes. We've even taken it a step further with that group, whereby we have provided a level of incentives such that over a 12-month period, if they deliver $30 million of sales to us with $3 million of gross profit, then they are entitled to receive a range of options that are exercisable at 5 cents. So once again, significantly more than what the share price is trading at. They're significant sales numbers, and it shows a belief in what they can achieve.
Wow. I want you to run that past me again, Bryan. So they've invested in you.
Yes.
They've got to get sales of 30 million, which will be a profit of 3. And then that allows them to exercise options at 5 cents. And given the fact that your share price today is about what is it today?
1.2, 1.3 cents. So I said, look, those sorts of numbers are, alone, if we can even achieve a portion of those, then this company has to be far more valuable in the future.
Well, let's talk about that briefly. Why do you think the market hasn't recognised it? Because you've got a market cap of 9 mil, you've got 8 million in sales. Okay, a little bit of a loss there at 800,000. Net assets of 7.6. Well, why hasn't you probably can't answer this, but it seems to me maybe people aren't kind of figuring out where this sits and how big the opportunity is, because you've been going, I think now this is year 3, so a solid foundation. But as I said earlier, that snowball effect, once it starts to run, those numbers will become big pretty quickly, I would have thought. I'd love your take on that.
Yeah, I think that the sale online of products into China is a bit of an unknown to many people in the Australian investment market. I mean, it is a sort of something that most people don't have experience with, but I think I would point to the very strong, solid growth. So we launched this company FY19, 700k of sales. Then the following year we took it to 3.4, and then we took it to just over 9 million. We've already delivered 8.5 million a year. So I think we're now demonstrating and building a track record where people can trust and rely upon that. Everyone knows that China's a massive market. People don't really understand it. That's what our IP is, understanding how you sell into that market. And I think that the proof has to be there in that consistent delivery. Like, this hasn't been a one-off, just bang, and then sit back and go, what happened? We've had a very deliberate program and plan of how we grow this out, and we're going to continue to deliver on this.
Okay, I'd like to just go into, if you wouldn't mind, I'm talking to you first quarter 2022. What's the news flow ahead of you for the rest of 2022?
Well, as I said, look, a number of different products that are coming online. We recently announced Merino Australian wool products being sold into China. The online growth and diversification with some of our pharmaceutical companies. I think there's some good progress being made with those entities. Continued expansion with our relationship with the China Cross-Border Trading Group, so opening up those further channels. And, as I said, look, that momentum and growth that we're delivering on, we think we'll continue to report that over the next 6 to 12 months. And, from there on, our expectation is that we can continue to grow those sales for those brands.
Bryan, are you pleased with the numbers since we spoke a year ago? Are they above your expectation?
They're in line with what we're expecting, and I think that's the important thing for us, is that we do have good line of sight of what we expect to achieve, what we need to do to achieve those numbers, and then pleasingly to actually achieve them. That's an important thing. So it does validate and demonstrate that we have a good understanding of the business. When we come out and say that we're expecting to actually achieve a certain level of growth for the following quarter, we hit it. Sometimes we beat it. But I think that that's an important thing, to be able to consistently set a target and achieve the target.
I mentioned earlier $800,000 loss. When do you expect to be profitable?
Well,
I won't talk dividends, Bryan, but I will talk profitability.
I think that's the main thing. The focus for the company is very, very strongly on that prize. And the path that we're on, I think if you can extrapolate out and say, okay, well, if the revenue was $2 million a year ago with $2 million loss, we're now at an $8 million half year with an $800K loss, and we're achieving the type of growth we are. I think you can map that out to see, with the subsequent quarters, where our break-even point is, and then where we're expecting to go into profit. And that's just based on solid, visible growth that we're achieving. Along the way, some of our products, if they hit pay dirt, then that can be very rewarding.
Well, it's a very rewarding time for you. We're running out of time, speaking of which. Here's what I want to know. My audience knows this because they're investors. So they want to know why they should sit up and take notice of ASX code TLG right now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, I think those numbers speak for themselves, but I'll let Bryan chat to you about points 1, 2, and 3. 3 reasons why they should be taking notice of it.
So, RLG, we operate in a high growth market. We're seeing extraordinary high demand for our product. As you said it, the numbers speak for themselves. If you look at the growth that's being achieved, that clearly defines that we are scaling the business and we're delivering on what we said we would do. We are operating on one of our platforms. One of our stores is operating on the biggest online platform in China, bigger than Alibaba, Pinduoduo. And in our category, our fresh food category, we're in the top 10 stores. So that's showing that we're achieving the type of growth and sales outcome that we think can be scaled further. And, if you look at it in simple terms, at a market cap of $9 million, $7.6 million of net assets, just delivered a 4 times growth from 12 months ago of $8 million revenue, broadcasting and forecasting that we're going to achieve a 25% growth this quarter. I think the numbers very solidly point to why RLG is such a good investment opportunity at the current price.
Well, Bryan Carr, it's an absolute pleasure and well done. Who knew a year ago to today? Great numbers, good, strong, solid growth. They know the Chinese market, ladies and gentlemen. They've got great partners over there on one of the biggest platforms, bigger than Alibaba. I can't even pronounce it. Pinduoduo, something like that. They're number 10 on one of the biggest platforms, bigger than Alibaba. Lots of growth to come. And one of the things I like, Bryan, was this investor that's come in that has an incentive to get those options at 5 cents. Not investment advice. Do your own research. ASX code, as we said before, is RLG. Make sure you take a look at them. Bryan, thanks so much for joining me on Small Caps today.
Thank you, Kerry. Great to speak with you again.